Your Majesty, President Barroso, Ministers, Excellencies, colleagues and friends, ladies and gentlemen. As champion of the Euroscience Open Forum 2014, it's my privilege and pleasure to welcome you all to Copenhagen and to Carlsberg City. The preparations for ESOF 2014 have been long underway. It began almost 4 years ago, and we have worked hard to get this moment where it all begins. I've been overwhelmed by the support and engagement from all sides. Many people and partners have contributed to making this success, and I want to thank in particular all the many colleagues, sponsors, partners, staff and members that have supported the ESOF. I also want to thank all the excellent scientists and members of the International Organizing Committee. Without you, and this event would not have been possible, and I'm very happy to see so many of you here. We have used the term science building bridges for the ESOF 2014, and this is to demonstrate the two-way collaboration, communication between science, society, science, politicians, science and business. And therefore we also think it extremely important that the hallway in today, this was the production hall of Carlsberg, the bottling hall, which in fact could bottle more than 1 million bottles of beer per day, the daily consumption of the people in Copenhagen. I cannot wait to experience the ambitious and scientific program, to hear the presentation from all the talented people we have gathered here at ESOF. But now it's my pleasure to introduce the host of this afternoon, Dominique Leglu. Dominique Leglu is the editor-in-chief of Science and Avenir, and further she's a member of the ESOF 2014 International Media and Marketing Committee. Please give her a very warm welcome. Dominique Leglu.
Thank you, Professor Bock, for this welcome. I too have been looking forward for this day with great enthusiasm, and I'm honored that you have trusted me with the task of guiding us all through the opening ceremony of ESOF 2014. ESOF is very close to my heart. I've had a long career in science information and communication, and I know how thrilling it is when new research results appear, how it sparkles the imagination of not only scientists, but all people. We start imagining how the world can be, and we discuss with our peers, with our family, and our neighbors, how we can change it into a better place for all. ESOF is about all this: the science, the creativity, and the dialogue between people. Today we have an extraordinary afternoon ahead of us. We will have speeches from the President of the European Commission, Minister of Higher Education and Science, President of Euroscience, the official opening debate on the Higgs boson, and musical entertainment. But first of all, I am honored to introduce the official opening speech at Euroscience Open Forum 2014. Please allow me to introduce Her Majesty the Queen.
It is a great pleasure for me to welcome every one of you to the Euroscience Open Forum in Copenhagen. It is impressive to see so many talented people gathered here in Denmark to share their knowledge and research. Exchanging and promoting new knowledge and research is the very essence of science, and this conference offers an important platform for the spreading of ideas, for the widening of our hopes and aspirations as we face the challenge of the future. All around the world, from north to south, from east to west, scientists and students are working together in partnership. Closer connection promotes dialogue and collaboration and engenders ties of friendship of great importance to science as a whole. Scientific curiosity has been active in Denmark ever since the astronomical studies of Tycho Brahe in the 16th century, reaching a peak with Niels Bohr's nuclear model in the 20th. It is fitting that the venue for this conference should be at the old Carlsberg breweries, the promoter and supporter of Danish scientific research through more than a century. Denmark has always aimed at a higher standard in technology based on excellence in scientific research and innovative thinking. Thus, we take great pride in hosting this conference. It is my hope that all participants in the Euroscience Open Forum 2014 will enjoy the exchange of ideas and thoughts during these days in Denmark, to the mutual benefit of each and every country involved, and to the building of ever stronger partnerships in the face of the challenges of tomorrow. With these words and my best wishes, I hereby declare Euroscience Open Forum 2014 open.
On behalf of us all, and you applauded her, I would like to thank Her Majesty the Queen for hereby having announced the official opening of ESOF2014. And now it is time to introduce a touch of circus and a little bit of dreaming to the event. Since the birth of Dreamers Circus in 2009, this trio has, through transgressing musical experiments, raised the bar of contemporary Nordic folk music. And what a beautiful name for a band. Please welcome on stage Dreamers Circus. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That was lively. Thank you for this performance. As the President of the European Commission, José Manuel Barroso has had the challenging task to move Europe and the European Union forward, not least through a strategy of bold support for research and development. At a time when many governments around Europe cut back on research and development, you secured an increase in investments from the European Union. We are much honored to be able to welcome today President José Manuel Barroso.
Your Majesty, dear Minister of Higher Education and Science from Denmark, dear Chair of ESOF2014 champion, dear President of Euroscience, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure to be here with you today for the 2014 Euroscience Open Forum in Copenhagen. I'd like to thank you for inviting me to take part in this truly important event. In a country with over 400 islands, with 3 bridges over 6 kilometers long, what more appropriate theme could have been given to this forum than science building bridges? A country world known for its scientific leadership, for its expertise across a range of fields, from clean technology to biotechnology, from pharmaceuticals to telecommunications, a country proud and confident about its knowledge-based society, a country known for its openness and desire to cooperate internationally. Your Majesty, ladies and gentlemen, as we move out of the worst financial and economic crisis since the 1930s, now is the time to focus on building a strong, sustainable future, on building a bridge between our past scientific traditions and a world where we share increased important global challenges and where we need innovative solutions. That is precisely why, back in 2010, we have put in place our new Europe 2020 strategy, designed to build a balanced, knowledge-based economy with education, science, research, and innovation at its very heart. That is also why we have managed to make the 7-year budget for our European research program, Horizon 2020, 30% larger than its predecessor, and this despite the slight decrease in the European budget as a whole. I can tell you it was not easy, but at the end we've got it. To convince, at that time, still 27 members around the table, now we are 28, that at least for science and innovation, the budget should grow. And it has grown by 30%. Now around 80 billion euros are available for the next 7 years. We can say that Horizon 2020 is one of the largest, if not the largest, research and innovation program in the world, designed to complement other sources of national and private financing. We have therefore managed to match ambition with resources, giving you, the researchers, the stability and long-term commitment that you need. This goes to show, as we discuss the challenges facing us in the years ahead, that science does indeed matter for the future of Europe. Not just to a large audience such as yours, but to everyone in our societies. Because I believe that our social and economic progress and many of the solutions to today's problems will come from science. And I would even say that the future of Europe is science. As our recent communication on research and innovation as sources of growth has shown, we have a lot to be confident about. Europe undoubtedly remains the world leader in science and has the capacity to innovate. Our European research area remains the largest knowledge production house in the world. We have twice the number of science and technology graduates in Europe than in the United States. And with 7% of the world's population, we still produce roughly a third of patents and high-impact scientific publications. And despite the financial economic crisis, we have managed to halve the innovation gap that we still have with the United States and Japan. But we cannot afford to stand still in a world where scientific and technological progress is accelerating at an unprecedented pace and where some of our partners and competitors are indeed moving further ahead. South Korea is a good example. China is quickly catching up. So we must adapt to new challenges and new ways of working in the 21st century. The role of digital technologies and the wealth of information and data that is being produced pose many questions about how science and research will be performed in the future. I know that Commissioner Guggen-Quinn, Commissioner for Research in the European Commission, whom I would like to congratulate for her commitment and passion on these issues during her term, will discuss this particular matter with you on Tuesday morning. We must also adapt our culture so that women are better represented in research and science. This is another matter very close to my heart. Indeed, even if there has been progress, women hold now 45% of all PhDs in Europe. They only represent 30% of career researchers. Last but not least, we must bring in our young generation into science and innovation, reinforcing and tailoring our educational systems so they more fully embrace creativity and risk. This is key to Europe's future. Allow me, ladies and gentlemen, to briefly highlight 5 bridges, because that's the topic of our conference. 5 bridges that we have been building and that we must collectively continue to build. First, a bridge between all scientific disciplines. Our Innovation Union seeks to mainstream science innovation across all sectors and cross-fertilize your ideas to develop new technologies, new products and services for the complex multidisciplinary challenges in our societies. This is why Horizon 2020 champions a challenge-based approach, and why, for instance, the European Institute of Innovation and Technology, that was created some years ago also following an initiative of the Commission, has recently launched its call for proposals for the knowledge and innovation communities. Secondly, we are building bridges between researchers and the general public. Importance of the relationship between science and society. Horizon 2020 is a large program with a broad set of objectives from excellence in science, with the European Research Council at the center. I know we are very proud of this European Research Council. Professor Bourguignon, the new chair of this ERC, is present with us here. We are very proud because all over the world where I go, I get this feedback from scientists congratulating Europe to have designed a program that is not based on any criteria of geographical or other kind of political compensation, but on real, true excellence. But apart from this objective of excellence, we also have important challenges, industrial leadership, and a number of key societal challenges, allowing us to focus on the big priorities relevant to our citizens. But in order to ensure that the progress you make, the researchers make, for example, on new vaccinations, or nanotechnologies, on many other fields, is properly explained and embraced rather than feared across society, we need a considerable communication effort from scientists themselves as well as from policymakers, and why not to say it, some help from the media. Because I believe it's incredibly important, the role of communication in science, to make communication on science something attractive that can all get the support of a society and also to get the enthusiasm of our young people. Thirdly, we are building bridges between the laboratory and the marketplace. After 30 years of negotiation in the European Union, I can tell you, it was not easy, but we finally agreed a European-wide patent. Once fully implemented, this will reduce the cost by up to 80% for small and medium-sized businesses and individual researchers to register their creative ideas. This should encourage more private investment, because at 1.30% of GDP, we still lag behind our friends from the United States, Japan, or South Korea, where private investment, venture capital, and culture of risk are more widely shared. Fourthly, we are building bridges between our member states. With the European Research Area, we are encouraging reforms for a greater mobility of researchers and for pan-European research infrastructures. But our countries must make an equal effort in research if we are to bridge the gap in investment across Europe, and if research opportunities are available across Europe. Collectively, we are missing our Europe 2020 target of 3% of GDP in research and development, averaging just under 2%, with more regional disparity, and still 10 member states averaging under 1%. And as you know, the European Commission, the European Union, we have been advocating the need for fiscal consolidation, because there are indeed important financial constraints, but we are calling for smart fiscal consolidation. And as I said very often, it is not smart to cut in science and education. Finally, we are building bridges internationally, trying to reach out to all the countries of the world, because if there is one field where we should avoid all kinds of chauvinism or borders, it's precisely the field of science. Just recently, I was present in Israel, where we signed an agreement with Israel precisely to give them access to our Horizon 2020 program. It's part of our science diplomacy, and I'm happy to see developing ourselves so many relations in this field. For instance, with our most important partners, we always have a chapter on science. I'm proud and happy to see together today with us the Minister of Science from South Africa, a country that, in fact, where we are already cooperating in this matter. I'm very happy to see so many international participants in today's forum. Ladies and gentlemen, we cannot afford to rest. And although Niels Bohr once said, it's a famous quote, that prediction is very difficult, especially if it is about the future, I have nevertheless asked my Science and Technology Advisory Council and Chief Scientific Advisor, Anne Glover, also present with us, to produce a report on foresight. What can we expect from science in the future, namely the relationship of science with our societies? And how can we make our societies more supportive of the efforts on science? Let me take this opportunity to thank them for their dedication to this work, which will be presented in a conference to be organized in Lisbon on the 6th and 7th of October, that under the title, precisely, The Future of Europe is Science. I look forward to a successful ESOF and to an ever-increasing role of Europe in science and innovation, with a view to the next forum in 2016 in Manchester. I congratulate all of you, the researchers, those that really make science happen, and I wish you a very successful forum. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, President Barroso. I think I remember it is not smart to cut in science and education. Thank you. And you showed your support for ESOF2014 as an important forum for discussions on European research and development. The decision of Denmark to host ESOF2014 lies already a few years back. The success of the planning and organization of the event rests not least on the continual and strong support of the Minister of Higher Education. Sophie Carsten-Nielsen is a European at heart and a fierce believer in the necessity to invest in future by supporting research, innovation, and education. Please welcome to the floor Minister Sophie Carsten-Nielsen.
Thank you. Your Majesty, President of the European Commission, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, friends of science, welcome to the Euroscience Open Forum 2014 here in Copenhagen. It is indeed with great pleasure that the Danish government is hosting ESOF 2014 here in Denmark. Preparations have indeed been underway for a long time, and I'm grateful to the many partners for supporting Denmark's efforts in organizing this tremendous event. Especially, I want to extend my sincere gratitude to President Barroso for the support from the European Commission, and for the collaboration we have enjoyed with the Commission throughout the planning phase. Today, we gather at the Carlsberg City District, and as has been mentioned, Carlsberg has always played an important part in Denmark's scientific history. It was the first company worldwide to isolate pure yeast for beer production, and the founder of Carlsberg, brewer J.C. Jacobsen, was quite ahead of his time. He was a friend of open science and did not patent his revolutionary work that made Carlsberg's beer production possible. The brewer had the firm conviction that knowledge must be shared openly and should not be limited to the privileged few. And we have planned Euroscience Open Forum much in the same spirit. So you could say that this is probably the best place in town for this great conference. And you could add that it is also probably the smartest place in town right now, with participation of some of the world's leading researchers and scientists. ESOF is the most interdisciplinary science conference in Europe today and is a key to furthering global collaboration, innovation, and partnerships. The conference is a platform where everyone, from scientists, policymakers, entrepreneurs, journalists, and citizens, can share knowledge and inspire each other. ESOF 2014 is entitled Science Building Bridges. And the bridge is, of course, a symbol of closing a distance easily and strengthening dialogue. ESOF 2014 will build bridges between science and society, between the private and public sector, between sciences and humanities, between science and media, and between Europe and the world. The Danish word for bridge is bro, and pronounced in English, this becomes bro, which, as you might know, is an abbreviation for brother or best friend. And this is, in fact, very appropriate, as science is the key to a prosperous future for all European citizens. So I think it's fair to say that science is our best friend, our bro. 2014 is a great year to celebrate science. The year 2014 holds a particular significance for CERN. On September 29th, it will be exactly 60 years since the organization was founded. And since then, it has become a hallmark of European research collaboration. And I'm honored to announce that in a short while, we can present a panel discussion between a particle physicist at CERN, Professor Fabiola Gianotti, and Director General at CERN, Rolf Dieter Høyer. I will be looking very much forward to the debate. Science is our best friend, and you are best friends of science. All in all, I hope that ESOF will prove to be a unique platform for an ongoing dialogue about science. I hope you will benefit from the many opportunities to share knowledge and connect with the many talented researchers, journalists, innovators, and citizens during this exciting week of science. And I hope you will all contribute to make ESOF 2014 an unforgettable experience. Once again, a warm welcome to ESOF 2014 here in Copenhagen.
Thank you, Minister Sophie Carsten Nielsen, and for reminding us the story behind all that and the venue we are at. And I will go back to France with at least one Danish word. I won't forget. Thank you. And I have been looking forward to the next performance with great curiosity because I don't know a thing about it. Danish bass player, composer, and brain scientist Peter Woest has promised to introduce us to some thoughts and facts about the brain responses to music. Peter Woest is bringing a wonderful message to us. It turns out that there is scientific evidence that music is good for our health and makes you feel happy. Well, we knew that, didn't we? But he says that scientifically. I hope that not least of our young audience here today, I can't see you, but you will listen carefully and take note of this important piece of advice. Don't ever turn off the music off. Speaking of the young people, I would like to ask the ESOF Future Academy, but where are they, to stand up for a second. Oh, they're over there in yellow. Thank you. I would like to tell you that these young people have been trained in boot camps over the last months to be ready to participate and discuss with the rest of the delegates throughout ESOF2014. I hope you will all welcome and include them over the next couple of days. Thank you. You can sit down again. And now back to the music. Peter.
Thanks. Your Majesty, President Barroso, dear ministers, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear guests. Why do we have music? I think we need a presentation here. Why do we have music? Well, does music have any survival value to us? This is a great question of the novel field, the interdisciplinary field of neuroscience and music, and especially to the Music in the Brain group at Aarhus University, where we are using modern brain scanning technology in order to investigate the biological foundation of music. So why do we have music? Well, the other day I came across these two wonderful twins on YouTube, and they are listening to their father singing.
Daddy's gonna play them a little song while they're eating their peas.
You guys ready?
We can probably all agree that this musical situation involves some sort of synchronization, maybe some pleasure and emotion, and some communication. And now I would like you to participate in a small experiment that we have been doing at Aarhus University during the last couple of years. I'll have to make you try to synchronize, and I'll have to divide you into two, just down the middle here. And the one part over here are going to clap 4, and you guys are going to clap 3. It's a little bit difficult, but I'll get you through this. So we'll start with this part of the field, and you're the 4 guys. So you're going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and you guys 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much. That's a very nice and easy way of getting applause. But what you were actually supposed to be doing was this thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. So, the thing is that what's happening in my hands are exactly the same all the time. And this tells us something very important about how the world functions, or how the brain functions. Because we can either be listening to this rhythm as a 4/4, a march, or a 3/4, a waltz. But we cannot listen to it at the same time. And what the brain is trying to do is make sense of this. Exactly as in this image that you probably know, where you can either see the vase in the middle and the faces on the sides, but you cannot see both at the same time. And here's the deal. The brain isn't interested if it doesn't have some complexity to it. It has to have some complexity. And if you, for instance, look at rhythm and listen to rhythms, there's a rhythmic sweet spot for pleasure and desire to move. It cannot be too simple, then we don't care about it. But it must not be too complex, because then we cannot make sense of it. But exactly in the middle, there's a sort of rhythmic sweet spot. And if you look at the brain, you can see that this sweet spot employs areas for pleasure and emotion, and for motor areas for synchronization. And if you look at the brains of jazz musicians who use music and these rhythms to communicate with each other, you can actually see very important language areas popping up in the brain. So why do we have music? Well, we believe that we have music in order to synchronize our groups emotionally, maybe communicate through music, and to add some pleasure and emotion to our lives. And now I would like to end with inviting two of my very good friends, two of Denmark's best jazz musicians, to try to induce a little bit of emotion, common emotion here, and a little bit of pleasure by playing a song from our latest album, released last year. It's called Sugar Bowl, and please give a warm hand to Veronica Mortensen and Henrik Gunde.
Sitting in my kitchen and the coffee is cold. This ain't the way I had told myself it would be, to be me. The tablecloth is weary and it's old. Got no food, no milk, just a coffee cup and a bowl full of sugar. Need a whole lot of sugar. What do you do with a life without meaning? What do you do when you find yourself leaning on the past? Add some sugar real fast. Reading through magazines no one sold me. Learning about things no one told me that I'd need to know. Hey, is that so? So your lover needs to see you smile. Well, I guess then that no man is an Nile anymore. You should have told me this before. What do you do with a life without meaning? What do you do when you find yourself leaning on the past? Sometimes you need to get a new start. It's good that it hurts when he says your heart feels like sand. Take the spoon in your hand. Need my food to be spicy and my lover hot. But sometimes it's nice and sometimes it's not so wise to add all that spice. So sitting alone by the kitchen table, I think I'm better off if I'm able to be treating him with some sweetening. What do you do with a life without meaning? What do you do when you find yourself leaning on the past? Come back, baby, I'll be the sweetest girl. I'll fill your heart with crystals and pearls from a soul and a sugar bowl. Make it sweet, make it neat, make it beat. Hear the tweeting of a bird, singing songs you never heard before. Take the sugar and pour.
Kan man bukke?
Skal vi bukke?
Thank you for this little moment of magic. I saw some who would have been delighted to start dancing, clapping their hands. And now I have the honor and pleasure, great pleasure, to invite Rolf Dieter Hoyer and Fabiola Gianotti to have a little discussion. Please come here. About the Higgs boson. Fabiola? Rolf, maybe you can take it a little bit more closer.
I'm turning.
It's okay. Fabiola Gianotti, you are a particle physicist and have worked at CERN, the famous high-energy physics lab you all know near Geneva, for a little bit less than 2 decades. And now you are renowned all over the world, yes, as the spokesperson of the experiment ATLAS, which has the biggest particle detector ever built. You're the spokesperson who nearly 2 years ago, a little bit more, it was the 4th of July, that's for the Americans, you announced that a particle compatible with the Higgs boson was found by your detector, placed on the accelerator LHC, Large Hadron Collider, after something like 700,000 billion collisions or something like that. Yeah, many, many. And you have received many numerous awards, among which I will cite only one, which has a special resonance here in Denmark, the Niels Bohr Institute Medal of Honor. Bravo. Rolf Dieter Hoyer, since 2009, you have been Director General of CERN. It's a place you have been knowing for long. Between 1984 and 1988, you worked at a famous experiment of that time, I remember it very well, called OPAL, on the electron-positron collider LEP, before LHC. And you became the spokesperson of OPAL. And you know also very well another famous lab, DESI, near Hamburg. You were the research director there between 2004 and 2008. I noticed that in an interview, you said that you would like science to be a bigger part of the culture aimed at the general public. So I suspect you will appreciate ESOF, not only for its scientific communications and roundtables, but also for science in the city, which is just out there, you know, sharing knowledge with the general public. I would like to mention, because you told me so, that CERN has received the UNESCO Niels Bohr Gold Medal. Bravo again. So as I told you, I would like to make a little exchange of questions. So Fabiola, I would like to start with you, because when you made your announcement, it was a thrill. You know, I wrote in my magazine that it was like like nowadays the World Cup of football. You know, it's thrilling. And in fact, this particle, the Higgs boson, does not exist anymore in our natural world. You had to recreate it in the accelerator, in the collider. But it did exist at the very beginning, the very early universe. So in fact, would you say that the LHC is a sort of time travel machine which gets us to the secret of the early universe? And what is the special secret of the boson? Because I'm not sure everybody has understood, even if you explain very well. You can say it again.
Let's try. Thank you for this question, Dominique. So, first of all, the Higgs boson is a very special particle. It's a unique particle, and it is so special because it explains why the other elementary particles have a mass. And among the elementary particles, we include two kinds of particles which are also very special, electrons and quarks. Electrons and quarks are very important because they are the fundamental constituents of atoms. So it means that everybody in this room, including you, Dominique, is made of electrons and quarks. We are all made of electrons and quarks, this microphone, my belt, everything. Okay? We are an ensemble of electrons and quarks and a lot of empty space. Now, if electrons and quarks are not a mass, so with just pure energy, like the photon, which is just pure energy, has no mass, then atoms would not stick together. Meaning that matter, as we know it, so chemistry, chemical elements, the atoms of which we are all made would not exist, or not in this form. So the Higgs boson is a key particle to understand why we are there and how we are there, and why our universe is made the way it is made of. Okay? Concerning the first question, it's true. When we collide very high energy beams, we produce very high energy, and this energy corresponds to the temperature of the universe. You know, the universe had origin from a big explosion called the Big Bang 15 billion years ago, and then it expanded and cooled down. So the energy that we produce in our accelerators corresponds to the temperature of the universe at the given phase of its life. And the energy we achieve with the LHC corresponds to the temperature that the universe had 10 to the minus 11 seconds after the Big Bangs, which means 100 of a billion of a second after the Big Bang, when the temperature was 10 to the 16 Kelvin, so 100,000 billion times the temperature in this room. So this is what we are doing.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, you know, I think we have a special audience who understands, but Rolf, I can't resist asking you, when you have to explain, well, to a taxi driver, or, well, that's things we have to do when we travel a lot like you do, or to your neighbor that, maybe about 9 billion or 10 billion euros were spent on this particle. How do you justify it, really?
Well, first of all, I don't justify it only on this particle, because there's much, much more beyond this particle, besides this particle. But this is the one which just received most of the attention. And Fabiola is absolutely right, because without this particle, frankly speaking, as she said, you could not exist. So you should be very thankful to us that we gave you the answer why you can exist. But I think you underestimate the general public. They are very eager to know and to understand what's going on in science and what we are doing. And the much I like to talk about science, I sometimes don't reveal that I'm going back to Geneva, because then they immediately talk about CERN. Mm-hmm. And I can give you one short example. In a taxi in Helsinki from the university to the airport, I had a very good taxi driver, and we were talking, and I had to reveal, I go to CERN, what you are doing? I'm at an international organization, CERN. And I said, yes. So I know what you are doing there. I watched the film Angels and Demons. And that made me so interested that I watch your webpage every day. And this is what we need. This is exactly what we need. And that goes back to bridging science and society. We are much too far apart. We have to talk more about this. We have to bridge science and society. This is a very important bridge. And we do it, by the way, also through arts. We have a new program at CERN. We are not only colliding particles, we are also colliding artists with scientists. And the result is fantastic. It's an eye-opener for both sides. So we have much more.
You told me, Fabiola, before you were about to talk today, that you would like to insist on the fact that all this research is a group research, and very, very big groups, very, very big teams, and young people inside, which is very exciting.
Absolutely. So CERN is really an example of collaboration and peace. These experiments, Atlas and CMS, who have discovered the Higgs boson, is not only Atlas, it's two experiments. They are made of 3,000 scientists each, coming from all over the world, so more than 60 countries. And at CERN, more than 10,000 physicists from all over the world work together. And some of them really comes from countries that do not entertain romantic relationship, to be frank. And nevertheless, we work all together peacefully and animated by the same passion, because science does not see borders. Science is something that a very strong unifying element. And also, it's also true that in our experiments, in our collaboration of scientists, more than 30% of these scientists are PhD students, like me. Was a joke, sure. We are supposed to laugh. Okay, thank you.
Like you were. You started like that.
Yes, right. So actually, if you look at the age of our scientists in our collaborations, you see that about 50% of them are below 35. So it's science, young science, and it's a science made by people from all over the world. So it's not only a fantastic scientific adventure, but it's also a very, very important human adventure. It's very good to grow in such an inspiring environment with people from all over the world. It's very good lessons for life lessons.
Yeah, you wouldn't know how to live only with Italians, or only with French, or only with Danish.
Often people ask me, how is it to work with people from all over the world? And for me, it's natural. Diversity is fundamental, because we are all different. We have all different fingerprints. There's no one person on earth with the same fingerprints, but the strength of mankind comes from this diversity. And so for us, it's natural. Diversity is normality. We could not work just with Italians or with Germans, no.
Let's talk after the World Cup final, and then we see. But I fully resonate with Fabiola, of course. Diversity is an opportunity. It's not a problem, it's an opportunity. That's it. And you get richer with this. And that was, I would have added, if you allow me, President Barroso, I would have added a sixth bridge to it. And this is bridging cultures and nations. Because we speak one language, and this language is science. Science is a universal language. And as Fabiola mentioned, we get scientists and engineers coming from different countries where the politicians essentially don't speak with each other. These guys realize, oh, the others are also humans. And this is fantastic. I mean, these are not so many people. We have only 10,000, 11,000. However, everyone is a gain, and we have to start somewhere. This is important. This is also what I tell politicians in order to get my funding, our funding.
One thing you can mention, in which is a bridge, as was mentioned by President Barroso, between fundamental research, frontier research, that's the wording, the elegant wording, and industry, is that accelerators, we talk about the fundamental ones like LHC, but there are plenty of them, more than 30,000 all over the world, and they help people for medicine, for materials. So
there are around 30,000 accelerators all over the world, 15,000 in industry, 15,000 in the hospital, and the remaining are in science. So only very few are in science, and there's a spin-off of this for medical applications, for example, for cancer therapy. Our instrumentation, which we are developing for our big experiments, can be used in locating tumors, for example, for visualization. And we should also not forget that we are not only celebrating 60 years of CERN this year, we're also 25 years of the World Wide Web. And it has changed the world. And it was born at CERN in a seminal paper of one of the persons in the IT division who wrote a paper, and it had to be approved by his group leader, and this group leader was very good. He wrote on the paper, vague but exciting. That was the birth of the World Wide Web. And if you come to CERN, and it's worthwhile, you will see the first web server in this world over there in our museum.
Now, what you're telling us shows how much freedom and liberty research needs. That's something that should be emphasized too.
Yes.
Fabiola.
Yes, freedom and creativity. And as Professor Hoyer said, science is beautiful, but science is also extremely useful. So, and ideas are very important, and really the essence of science is ideas. So, for instance, very often people ask me, how could you coordinate an experiment made of 3,000 people? In these experiments, the hierarchy does not come from seniority, who is the boss, or the hierarchy comes from ideas. If the last arrived student has the right idea, the experiment follows that idea. So we really have to be very much open, and also make sure that when we have scientific endeavors, we are not over bureaucratic, because we have to make sure that the young people, in particular, and everyone, can express themselves with their creativity and idea. Without ideas and creativity, there is no science, as there is no art, to go back to what Professor Hoyer was saying.
Young people and women, because in a way you become a sort of role model. Difficult to assume? You're not convinced?
No.
In physics, it used to be difficult to be a woman. It's not true anymore. That's good news.
Well, I see, right. So if I take statistics, for instance, at CERN, we have typically, 20-25% of the physicists, scientists working in our experiment are women, and it's good to see this is the average, 20%, the average, but then this percentage increased to 25-30% in the younger generation. So there is a very positive trend. Now, I must say, I like to stress more the word diversity, because it's not only women, gender diversity, it's also ethnical diversity, ethnicity, culture, tradition, working together in a coherent way while maintaining our culture, not denying it, while maintaining our tradition, because of course it's very important to have people from all over the world with different habits, with different ideas, but diversity is a very important thing, and of course we should promote it. Be it diversity in terms of gender, age. One nice thing at CERN is that if you go to the CERN canteen, the food is quite good, by the way, so you are all invited to come if you're willing to come. But Nobel Prizes eat face to face with the youngest students, and so this is very nice and very encouraging.
Before asking the question, the political question or the geopolitical question of the future to Rolf, I would like to know, and please forget finance.
That's difficult.
I would like to know which big discovery you would like to see happening in your field or others. Because, we were talking about the Higgs boson to start with, but frankly, we don't know what dark energy is. We don't know what dark matter is. So that there are enormous things which are over there and we still do not understand at all. So is there something you would expect in the forthcoming years?
We were discussing before with Peter about brain and fundamental science, that although mankind has made an enormous amount of progress since the beginning of life in learning and advancing, promoting knowledge, and 95%, as you said, 95% of the universe is dark. When you look at the sky, you see fantastic stars and planets. Those that you see is only 5% of the universe, meaning that only 5% of the universe is made of that kind of matter we were discussing before, atoms, quarks, electrons, the same matters we are made of. The rest is made of a form of matter and energy that we don't know, and we call them dark matter and energy, where dark indicates our ignorance, and B, the fact that this form of matter and energy do not interact directly with our instruments. So we deduce their existence in an indirect way. So clearly for me, the dream will be, and I guess also for Rolf, we switch on the LHC again in March 2015 at higher energy to be able to produce in an accelerator 100 meters underground across Switzerland and France the particle that could explain dark matter, 25% of the universe. This will be a great triumph for science. But again, we don't know how this particle will manifest itself. We have some ideas. People talk about supersymmetry, extra dimensional, all these nice things. But at the end, I will say nature decides. So we are open to what nature wants to give us. Surprises. For a researcher, the best thing is a surprise.
So one thing the general public has to understand is that it was not only a necessity to find the Higgs boson, but now one has to study it in detail. And maybe it could be of the family of these particles which help understand this dark matter or dark energy. So how long will it last?
Well, first of all, I told the scientists the discovery was easy. Now the real work starts. Because now they have to investigate.
That's tough.
No, it's very encouraging, yes, of course. No, we have a good atmosphere, so we can talk in that sense also in the laboratory. They have to find out, is it really this particle which is predicted by the so-called standard model? Or is it something else? Does it have brothers, sisters? And that can take very, very long. Take as an example, you know twins. And they look exactly alike. The only difference between the two is one of them speaks one word differently than the other. Now you have to, first of all, find that beast. You don't know which one it is. And then you have to get it talking. And you have to get it talking in such a way that it speaks out exactly that one word so that you know what it really is. And that can take many, many years. And also, dark matter, as a Director General, I have to tell you, don't expect it in the first few months. It can take some time, just so that nobody has a wrong impression. We have a program set up for the Large Hadron Collider until 2035, so for the next 20 years, in order to exploit all of it, in order also, coming back to the financing, to exploit all the resources which you have to put in, which one has put in order to take all of this out. And all these young people, they will do that. That's fantastic. I can only underline again what Fabiola said on the young people. This is one of our best chance. I mean, the young people, this is knowledge transfer. Everybody talks about technology transfer. Talk about knowledge transfer with the people. That's it. The young people, they go back, they spread the word about science. And if everybody talks about sustainable development goals, fine. But who is going to sustain it? You need the people for that. You need to educate the people for that. And that's also what we try to do, by the way, starting with 7 years old up to PhD students like Fabiola.
Wanted to add something, Fabiola.
I just want to say that we have actually covered a couple of two important qualities, in my opinion, for a scientist, and I would like to add the third one. So the first one we said is curiosity. A scientist has to be curious. Never give anything like fait accompli, as you say in French, but always ask yourself questions. The second one was mentioned now by the Director General. Determination, perseverance. You are not going to discover something in 2 minutes. It's not a quick thing. You have to be stubborn. You have to be really determined. And the third thing, which is very important also to explain to our younger people, because we are pretty young, is modesty. We have to be very humble and very modest, because we realize that in spite of the fact that we know a lot, there is a lot that we don't know. Newton used to say, what we know is a droplet, what we don't know is an ocean. It's true. And thanks goodness, because it means that we will continue to improve knowledge. And science knowledge is an endless path.
Yeah, when you say determination, in physics, it's a story which started at the beginning of the, well, we could say, we could talk about the Greeks, but I will start only with the beginning of the 20th century. But you are in the continuity of that. And do you think that the younger scientists these days have this feeling of continuity? Because, you know, we publish, well, I used to publish, I'm not a scientist anymore. They publish, and at times, you know, you have the feeling that the publication lasts a short time. So maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. Are they inspired by the older physicists? You know, the big guys.
On the publications, of course, it depends on the topic and on the quality of the publication. But yes, I think they have the feeling. I think they get it. And the best example is what Fabiola mentioned. If you go to the restaurant at CERN, where young and old are mingling, are networking, they realize that they are building on the base which was done by the older people, and they realize, at least in our field, they realize they have to build the next base for the next people. Mm-hmm. And I think the fact, and here I have to come back to CERN, the fact that we are turning 60 this year means that we are, in that case, another type of role model. We are really a role model of what you can do when you have sustained support, when you have long-term support. And this is what we got from our European member states. We started with 12 member states. Today we are 21. And we have all the time, through these 60 years, the support. You cannot do such science without this support. But I think we have to go one step further, again, international. CERN is a trademark now, so you will not change the name, but you can change the meaning of a letter in the name. CERN, the E stands for Europe. Just recently we have redefined it from Europe to everywhere. So now CERN is open also to membership from countries outside Europe. Nonetheless, I think we have to keep our European heart, because the success, the sustainability of such a global lab is Europe, is a European flavor, and that we have to keep. Or, better, we have to tell the others how to get that flavor. That might be even better. And
to whom do you open it? Do you have preferences, or you wouldn't say them, of course, but no. Give us an idea.
I can give you some idea. In January, Israel became the first member outside the normal definition of Europe. I'm very careful here, but that's because it's the normal definition of Europe. But then we will hopefully soon have Pakistan on board as an associate member. And we are also going into the American continent. So we really want to go over into the other continents, because we have a tremendous amount of scientists coming from these countries, and so we want to be open for them. So there has to be an interest in this country by the scientists, by the community, and also, of course, by the politics, and then we are there in order to discuss.
Well, this is your policy, your feeling to make CERN evolve, but there are major discoveries or work to be done in new machines, or at least that's what I understand. So the thing which is not clear, and maybe it's too early, but can you tell us a little bit how you foresee the future? Because we can have new machines, new round colliders, circle colliders, but we could have big straight machines like we did in the old days. So, and what for? What will it be for? A new brand of particles, or nobody knows? And who is forceful in this new race?
Well, here I can pick up again what Fabiola said, that 95% of the universe are unknown to us. Imagine, it took us 50 years, 50. It took us 50 years to now describe 5% of the universe. Isn't it high time that we attack the other 95%? Now, the LHC will be the first step. And the LHC and other experiments somewhere else in the world will tell us which direction to go, circular or linear. Who are the big players? Well, there are the three regions, Asia. I'm sorry, Minister, I have, in that science area, we have three main regions, Asia, Europe, and America. I hope that we can also do a bit more on your region. These three regions are having roadmaps, and for the first time, we have more or less a global vision for the field. A year ago, we got the European strategy for the particle physics in the next 5 to 10 years, or longer. And just last month, the US did the same. We know the priorities in Japan, and it fits. And this is for the first time that we have a global vision of the field, and it's for the first time that each region is not only talking about its region, but going beyond the boundaries. That means we are ready to participate in your region, and the other region says we are ready to participate in your region. That's for the first time, and I think this is fantastic for this field. Now we have to use it. That's a bit more difficult.
So you confirm that physics has a future, because, you know, there was this ongoing saying in the past few years, saying physics is the science of the 20th century, and biology is the science of the 21st century. So you don't totally agree with that vision of the world, I suspect.
At least not what concerns physics.
Several scientists at the beginning of the 20th century said, well, there is nothing, the beginning of the 20th century, there is nothing else to learn. We have already discovered everything. And again, 95% of the universe is dark. So clearly there will be, and we have, of course, learning more will require more and more powerful instruments, bigger collider, bigger rings, which of course can be very challenging, can be also expensive, but the correct attitude is not to give up on science. The correct attitude is to develop the technology that allows us to build these instruments at an affordable cost and make them technically affordable, also because this technology then goes to the benefit of everyday life, as was mentioned before. So this is what we are going to do, develop the technology that makes us able to understand what this 95% of the universe is.
So you would recommend to younger people that, yeah, they should choose science and maybe physics for their own future. You do believe in that?
Absolutely.
You push them. Mathematics, physics?
STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics. That's the buzzword. And that's what we need. Yeah? Okay. We need all science types. Okay, that's for sure.
Well, that's the politically correct vision. Yeah.
I have to be politically correct, but one thing which I'm missing is the boost for the young people going into these STEM subjects, and this will be a major problem in the coming decades. So we have to encourage them, and in order to encourage them, we need also some of these beacons, like the Large Hadron Collider. I mean, this is fantastic. And you get them in. I could get, but we don't have enough time, but I have a very nice example again, but okay. Yes, they should do it. And they will not regret it.
Fabiola?
Well, I would like just to say that it's very important to stress the role of fundamental research. Very often people confuse research, fundamental and applied research, and it's in a period where it's very difficult to find funding for fundamental research. I am very happy with the words of President Barroso. Without fundamental research, that is, without ideas, there is no progress. At some point, the progress stagnates, sterilizes. Progress needs ideas. The electricity, light based on electricity that we have today is not just evolution of the candle. It's not by building bigger and more colorful candles that you get this light. No, this has required a jump in fundamental knowledge. So without that, even the most abstract ideas are useful. What is more abstract than Einstein relativity? But without Einstein relativity, the GPS will not work. So let's please consider fundamental research as really an important component of life, of society, and of all of us. So this is my encouragement.
Well, I think that's the end. That's the good news from you and the good motto for the young people. Thank you very much, the both of you. Thank you. Oh, I tend to regret not to be a particle physicist anymore. Oh, it's too bad. Every second year, the Euroscience Open Forum attracts researchers, policymakers, and business people from all over the world to discuss issues of great importance to all citizens of Europe and of the rest of the world. It is a huge achievement for Euroscience that this forum has grown into a European tradition that we take for granted and can hardly imagine it was once not there. Please welcome to the stage President of Euroscience, Laurits Holm Nielsen.
Your Majesty, President José Manuel Barroso, Minister Sophie Carsten Nielsen, dear colleagues and friends, I believe that the lesson so far of ESOF 2014 is building bridges is critical and trained mobile brains are indispensable. This year we celebrate the 10th anniversary of the Euroscience Open Forum. The event has been around Europe. It started in Stockholm, has been hosted in Munich, Barcelona, Torino, Dublin, and now it is in Copenhagen. And we will welcome all of you again back in 2016 to Manchester. The ESOF conferences were established to give scientists of all fields an opportunity to present and discuss the frontiers of scientific and technological research in Europe, and thereby stimulating the European public's engagement with science and technology. It contributes to the development of a European scientific identity in order to build bridges and to bridge gaps between science and society, and thus stimulate the development of a strong and prosperous European research area. In fact, Euroscience flagship event, ESOF, has become a milestone for development of ERA over the years. Euroscience is a grassroots organization open to research professionals, teachers, students, journalists, science administrators, policymakers, and generally to all citizens, by the way, not only Europeans. All citizens interested in science and technology are heartily welcome to participate in our activities. In fact, the most prominent demonstration of what Euroscience is doing is manifested here in ESOF 2014 in Copenhagen. We all look forward to the coming days during which we will see the strengths of European research demonstrated, challenged, debated, and the citizens engaged through a fascinating Science in the City program. Finally, Euroscience cannot thank our generous host enough, the government of Denmark, the city of Copenhagen, of course, in particular, the Minister of Higher Education and Science, Sophie Carsten Nielsen, and of course, without the tireless work of the champion of ESOF2014, Professor Klaus Bock, and his incredible team, this could not have happened at all. I look very much forward to the coming days, and I hope you will all enjoy this imminent demonstration of European research. I wish you an inspiring ESOF 2014 here in Denmark. Welcome to Copenhagen.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Lauritz. And I'm happy to have to call the Dreamers Circus again. We have time for that. Please enjoy us again. Thank you. Very good for our neurons. Thank you. Thank you. Your Majesty, President Barroso, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us here today and for being a good, very good audience. I hope you have enjoyed this afternoon and that you feel inspired to contribute to the debate and discussions that will continue throughout the week. I wish everyone a fantastic ESOF 2014.